and it's wet, then you may have to leave it just a few minutes longer. So just make sure to check it at about 45 minutes. Sometimes they need more time depending on your oven. But this type of cake, since it's vegetarian, it's not a real tall cake. It's more kind of has kind of a thicker texture, but it's still very soft, and when you eat it, it melts right in your mouth. So the only thing is that because it doesn't contain any animal products and not too much sugar, there's no eggs or milk, it's not going to be quite as tall as a regular cake, but it's still very good. And remember, once you take it out of the oven, we want to pour a little powdered sugar on top using a sifter. Now, since it just came out of the oven, we want to let it cool a little bit, because what happens is if you put the powdered sugar on top now while it's hot, it's going to melt and it's going to be like a syrup on top. And we don't want that. We want it to stay on top nice and fluffy. So just kind of recap the steps for making our vegetarian cake. We used the olive oil first, all the wet ingredients. We used our spices in the beginning with the olive oil. Then we poured in our freshly squeezed orange juice, our sugar. We also added the dry ingredients last, such as the self-rising flour and the raisins. We didn't even use electric mixer. This was all just done by hand. So you didn't have to pull out your electric mixer, or maybe you don't have one. You know, it's just something you can use a wooden spoon. Afterwards, after everything was mixed, we put it in the oven for 45 minutes. I checked it with a toothpick to make sure it's okay, and it came out. Now what I did was, when it came out of the oven, of course I had it in a cake pan, I flipped it onto a plate in order to get it out of the pan, in order to get it in this glass dish. I flipped it onto a plate, and then I flipped it back onto this glass dish. So that way you have something nice to serve it on. And when doing that, make sure to use gloves or oven mitts so that your hands don't get burned. And it's a good idea to take it out of the pan pretty much once it comes out of the oven, maybe wait a couple minutes. But it's very important to get it when it comes out of the oven and not wait too long, because then it sticks and it's almost very difficult to get it out. So next, once this cools, we'll take a sifter, which is what I'm holding right here, and I poured some powdered sugar inside. And what it does is it gets the sugar onto the cake more evenly. So what you want to do is just sort of start at the corners and kind of move around so that it's not all in one space. You can also tap it as well. And the reason I'm using powdered sugar is that it's less fattening than frosting. Less calories and much better for you than using a lot of frostings, because they have a lot of trans fats in them. They're higher in calories, and a lot of the ingredients we don't even know what they are. The words are very big. And you really get the same effect from just a little powdered sugar. And the sifter helps get lumps out so that it has a nice smooth finish. That's why I like using a sifter. And they come in all shapes. You can get a big sifter. You can use a smaller sifter as well. Now there are different ways you can garnish your vegetarian cake. You can use slivered almonds to put on top. They also have sliced almonds very thinly. I recommend those. There's also, you can take a little shaker and put some cinnamon inside and just gently pour that on top as well. And it's a great combination, powdered sugar with cinnamon. Beautiful garnish. and then it's ready to serve. So as you can see here, it's not something that's very difficult to prepare and to garnish. Just some powdered sugar. Just make sure to let your cake cool, and then finish it with some cinnamon, and then you can also pour some little slivered almonds on top. So there you have it. A vegetarian cake. Who said you can't eat cake when you're a vegetarian? But anybody can make it, as I mentioned before earlier in the show. Anybody can make this. You don't have to be a vegetarian to enjoy it. And maybe serve it to some friends who always insist on having meat products, and say after, this didn't have any meat products in it. See their reaction. So I'm Chef and Nutritionist George Rapidas. I want to thank you for watching Eat Right by George, healthy cooking show showing you healthy can be delicious. Make sure to find us on Facebook and send us a friend request. We also have the ongoing Eat Right by George cooking tour as well. That's also on Facebook, and you can see all the different places that we have been all over, talking and discussing healthy nutrition and making healthy substitutions in your recipes. So there you have it, the vegetarian cake. Thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you real soon here on Eat Right by George.